The Packers head to Philly in a rematch from Week 1 in Brazil. After a few poor performances against the Vikings and the Bears, how confident are you the Packers will win? Rob and I will tell you where we stand.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm cash.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sounds Gouda. My name is Jordan Olson, and my co-host here is Rob Ralph. Thanks for being here to our new and returning listeners. And just remember, we have new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So, folks, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what, we've waited all season, 17 games, all the preseason work, the draft. It's all brought us to this point where we get to go on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles and try to prove it and try to advance to the Super Bowl. So the Packers entered this game as a 4.5-point underdog, Rob. How are you feeling about this matchup versus the Eagles?
Well, it's now or never. I know a lot of people might point to the 2010 Super Bowl run. Look where that started, in Philadelphia. It's a familiar foe with a defense and an offense, quite frankly, but a defense that's really picking up some continuity and playing really, really well in that Tampa 2 3-4 defense that Vic Fangio brings over there for the Eagles. So I've been really impressed specifically with that. This is a rematch, obviously, from Week 1. Philly did end up winning that 34-29 down in Brazil, like you were just alluding to. But, both teams had, 400 yards of offense on what was a really slippery, humid field. Everybody was slipping in that game. The Packers did force 3 turnovers, including 2 Hurts interceptions on that. And the Packers outrushed the Eagles 163-144, which is crazy, pretty crazy to think of now, looking back in the totality of the season with, Saquon Barkley obviously getting MVP type of consideration, and he's just a really, really awesome back. Not to say that his season wasn't better, as he had obviously an amazing season. I might argue Josh Jacobs just had, well, statistics might not be quite up there and as good. He still had obviously a hell of a season, but in that game too as well, the Packers were shooting themselves in the foot, which we've seen on more, times throughout this year in specific games. 10 penalties for 71 yards. That's brutal. So, yeah, I mean, the Packers are obviously reeling. They're coming off some pretty tough losses against the Vikings and the Bears. Obviously, the Bears won. There really wasn't. It was pretty meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but a little bit of misdirection, not clear expectations, preparation and details, stuff we've alluded to on our Packers-Bears recap. So I'm expecting this to be really good. I think that the Eagles are a very good team. It's going to, they're going to play really well. They do have Jalen Hurts, who is quote unquote still on the concussion protocol, but I don't believe any of that nonsense. I'm sure we'll get to touch on that more than a couple players that they're kind of playing a little bit of chess with as far as, they might play, they might not. They're still in concussion protocol, that sort of stuff. So, I think this isn't going to be a game where you're clamoring for our pass rush or the non-existence of our pass rush to be able to get to the quarterback anyways. They're going to have to play a little bit more contained on Jalen Hurts, similar to what they did in that first game, which I thought that they did a very good job. So same, kind of game plan as far as that goes. Saquon Barkley and that really good offensive line can hurt you in a multitude of different ways. I've said it on many of these different pods from in the season, but they have one of the best offensive lines in the league, them and the Lions and the Vikings too as well. So, and like I was just saying, the defense is playing really good for them too as well, rounding out throughout the season and coming down. I think they have a top 10. Both have top 10 defenses and offenses too. So this should be a really good game. I really hope the Packers can come out, they can, run the football well. I hope that they can marry that up with play action. I hope that the Christian Watson injury doesn't hurt us as much. I hope they don't do end arounds with Jaden Reed that everybody knows is going to happen at, 3 or 4 times in the game. So this should be a stellar matchup. You got nothing to lose. This is a brand new season. Throw some new wrinkles within the game plan. Have a strong identity and put your foot on the gas. I'm hoping for a miracle here, Jordan. How are you feeling?
Well, I don't know that a miracle's required. I haven't lost that much faith. After I come down from the disappointment of the Bears game, And I start to look forward to this game, for all the reasons you've mentioned, a matchup of two top 10 offenses and two top 10 defenses. I really think that this game should be fun. And the first time that we played in week 1, obviously the Packers made some mistakes, had some penalties, had some drops, which obviously we saw that carry through the entirety of the season, but they were right there and should have had opportunities. I think this should be a really, really fun and competitive playoff game, maybe one of the highlights of the weekend. I hope and think that there's a chance that we can come out on top if we get in our details and play right. A couple things you hit on. The Eagles right now have the number 1 defense in DVOA, which is, defensive value adjusted for opponent, right? So they're, I think, statistically, like in terms of points, they're the number 2 defense. They're number 1 against the pass. So just like hard statistics, show that they're really good, and then adjusted for opponent. So the tall order for the Packers. The Packers have a good run defense as well, though. The Eagles' rush defense is ranked 10th. Ours is ranked 7th. And we did do a pretty good job of containing Barkley and Hurts the last time. We'll talk more about key matchups, but that's going to be critical. A couple other things. Obviously, we're going to have to see where Jordan Love's elbow's at. Everybody's saying that it's going to be good. I expect him to play. So we're not going to talk a lot about that. It's still pretty early in the week. We'll see how he progresses. All early signs were that he'll be able to go for this game. One thing I do want to point out with Jordan Love, and not only has Matt LaFleur been receiving some criticism, but Jordan Love's gotten a little criticism over the last few weeks as well, and just want to ground people with some statistics. Toyotathon Jordan Love is still very much a real thing. Since week 12, Jordan Love has the highest QBR in the NFL with a 83.0 grade, and right now he's still on the entirety of the season, missing 2.5 weeks. Playing poorly at times. He had that interception streak. He's 5th in QBR in the league on the season. So I really encourage people to kind of not give up on Love. He's been on the bad end of drops and drive-ending penalties and, all kinds of things that have been disruptive to his flow. And I still really believe that he's a difference maker and expect him to be in this game. You talked about a few things with Matt LaFleur, play calling wise, decision wise, and wouldn't it be something if he was playing the ultimate game of 3D chess and all this crap that we saw the last 2 weeks was really just putting shit on tape in preparation, to throw off the upcoming playoff opponent. I would love for that to be the silver lining, but I'm not fully buying that, right? I think the players, if they come out and they execute, that we stand a chance in this game. So we're going to want to go from there. So the Eagles are littered with great players, right? They've got 6 Pro Bowlers and other guys that are deserving of it. But you already mentioned they probably have the best offensive line. Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, and Cam Jurgens all got Pro Bowl nods. But if you're looking for a place for the Packers to win this game, if they execute well, what's the part of the game plan that is going to allow the Packers to come out on top on Sunday?
Carter ended up making the Pro Bowl too, right? On the defensive line, and he's really, really good. Their secondary is just sound. Solid. It's very good. So, this is like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like, just meaning like if you try and tack one, the other one's a strength too. But without Christian Watson, the kind of mishaps as far as the wide receivers, and I'll probably touch on this a little bit more, but running the football effectively with Josh Jacobs, I think will be extraordinarily important. That too sucks up the linebackers, maybe some of the safeties, build off play action, like I've alluded to about 1,000 times. And then, the wide receivers against that secondary is going to be a very, very interesting matchup. If we see more of what we kind of saw, in that last, 5-6 minutes against the Vikings in the fourth quarter, where they really were able to get in a rhythm. And that was kind of like we've talked about too, kind of their hurry up type of stuff. I think that could be a place where you could have a little bit, more momentum and get kind of Jordan Love into a groove. But then again, too, I don't know how you marry that up with trying to have your identity of running the football too as well. So, I think it's going to be really, really tough. I want to anything on the offensive side of the ball, they have a really good offensive line, really good quarterback, really good wide receivers, really good tight ends. So there's not a lot of really good places that I think that you can try and beat them. And maybe I would say safety, but we don't have anybody who can really take the top off. Maybe that's going to be a Bo Melton who's got a little bit more speed, who's helped us out, down the stretch specifically, from last year. But I think he made a couple of good catches too as well against the Vikings. But you're gonna need to come up with some tricks in your bag. Come prepared, have your details, and then really too, like if you can get Jordan Love into a rhythm and a cadence, not shoot yourself in the foot, be more effective in the red zone. I think that's where you're gonna, have some success. I hope.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff there. Couple things responding to your feelings about matchups and where we can win. I think that the Packers just, this can't be understated enough. They need to finally play a mistake-free or minimal mistake football game.
Yep.
You can afford one drop, one turnover, one penalty that kills a drive. But if we compound, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 of those things, if we're talking about a whole laundry list of mistakes, it won't matter, in the end. So whatever they need to do to focus and prepare, there's been a lot of conversation about Matt LaFleur. I put a lot of it squarely on the shoulders of the players too, because you hear him saying the right things, the energy that Halfley and that group brings. The Packers are the youngest team, but they need to have some maturity and some humility and understand that their talent is not going to win every game without preparation, right? Talent plus preparation and experience equals a strength. And where we have all the talent in the world, we have some experience now, some experience with some heartbreak, some experience with some great outcomes, but the preparation has to be there. No Christian Watson. Can they use Luke Musgrave to help take the top off the defense? I mean, we know he has that speed. Now, I expect Philadelphia to know that he may not be the primary target on those routes and that he's probably a guy that's just trying to create separation underneath. But yeah, him and Bo Melton. Dobbs, he was a scratch due to illness, right? So we expect him to be back. Hopefully his flu bug is gone or whatever he was dealing with. And he's going to be critical to get back in this game. The Stars, and we mentioned this early in the season, we talked about winning the division, which we obviously went the complete opposite direction of that because we barely could. We were like one fingertip away from going 0-6 in the division, which is gross. But we talked about it then, but our stars need to be stars. And we have 3 guys on defense that need to be stars on Sunday to win. Xavier McKinney, Rashan Gary, and our emerging budding superstar at linebacker. Maybe it's a little bit early to call him a superstar, but I think he's got the talent. Edren Cooper. If those 3 show up and make plays and are disruptive, we stand a chance in this game. Obviously, getting a compliment from anybody else, Carrington Valentine, Carl Brooks, Keyshawn Nixon, name a guy. But I think those 3 really need to have an impact for us to win. So let's see here. What else do you see in this game that you really kind of want to talk about, Rob? You got anything? Who's a player that you're looking to have a big week outside of those 3 defensive players that I named?
Any pass rush, raise your hand.
I've been waiting to get to that stat, and sorry, I'll just say this and I'll let you get back because I don't want to hog the mic.
No,
we got one freaking sack against the Bears, and it was on a botched snap. We talked about we should walk into 4 or 5 sacks against that offensive line, and Caleb Williams was holding the ball. We got 1 sack. I have little confidence in this pass rush. But to your point, we need to find something.
Yeah. I mean, anything. They're going to have to dig down deep, find it within themselves. I don't know how you do it. Like you said, I think 3 or 4 out of their guys are Pro Bowlers. Probably the best offense. Well, them in Detroit. You're going to play a little bit more contained too. I understand that. But man, if you can get any sort of pass rush, anything, that would be extraordinarily helpful to us. Both these defenses too are really good at taking the ball away. I think we're We're third with plus 12, and Jordan, you can correct me here too if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sixth at, plus 11 in the turnover margins. There was a pick in the first game too from Xavier McKinney, so why not, have another really good game from, Xavier McKinney and get another turnover as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
You end it just the way like you started it, not that they would end it, because hopefully that would mean that we'd end up winning. But I'm curious to see how, backup cornerbacks, quote unquote, Valentine, has been playing better, goes up against the monstrous, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goederts of the world. They have a very, very good, passing attack. So I am curious to see how much zone versus man that they play too, because we all remember in the first game, Alexander got burned and on a man-to-man versus A.J. Brown, and obviously A.J. Brown's really good man-to-man. He can bump off you and kind of bully you like he did to Alexander and for that touchdown. So some of the matches I'm looking at too, and just like the first game, and like we've been doing pretty well here pretty consistently, is stopping the run, stopping Saquon Barkley. That's going to be massive. He's only gotten, that much better since we last played him, feels like a year ago. Being able to do that, stop him for an MVP type caliber and consideration for what Barkley did this year is going to be absolutely critical. But then if you're stopping him, you're going to have to stop the wide receivers. So the Eagles, man, are really, really good. It's going to be really hard to stop them. I think you put in here too, but Matt LaFleur versus himself. If he comes and he's prepared and he has his details, he gets these players to play fast, free, aggressive, flag-free type of football, mistake-free, and you're not going to kill yourself with mistakes, I think the Packers can hang with anybody. And then if the Packers do come out of this with a win, man, what a confidence booster that would be moving forward. Not to say that you'll go out there and you'll beat, the Vikings or the Lions or whoever ended up else, juggernauts that you're going to have to end up playing. But man, that just eludes a ton of confidence for this team moving forward into the playoffs. So almost, I know it's a massive juggernaut, but this is like getting a massive monkey off your back. Can you finally beat one of these massive juggernauts? Can you play mistake-free? Can you find a pass rush? Can you get some more turnovers? Can you run the ball effectively? Can the wide receivers get open on one-on-one specifically versus man coverage? Now, there's obviously a debate. I think Vic Fangio will play a little bit more zone, too high shell. He'll try and keep a lid on it. So maybe we'll get some passes over the middle, right? I think that's where you can leak out and have some more success specifically against this defense. And we haven't seen a lot of that this year. So very long-winded, Jordan, but there's multitude of different ways of being able to try and win this game. But it's going to take like a B plus to like an A plus type of game for them to.
No, it's going to take an A or an A plus performance. If the Packers do win this game, they will face the Lions in the divisional round. They are the 7 seed and the NFL playoffs reseed. So 7 will go to 1. That will be the matchup. But we would have a lot more confidence going into that game, beating this team if we come out and execute. Mentioned Matt LaFleur, spot on. He can only control what he can control, though. So those timing decisions, game management, play calling, that's where he needs to be, in his preparation and sharp this week. Jordan Love's just got to have a great game. Hopefully his grip is good. But if Jordan Love has a great game, I like our chances against anybody. So let's be aggressive. Let's move the ball down the field. I know we want to establish the run, but maybe we should be a little bit more pass or play action first. And, I know the run will open that up for us, but we have a weapon in Jordan Love's arm, and we need to unleash it. And I think it's been a little bottled up. I think it's time to uncap that thing and make a playoff run here, hopefully. So get into some score predictions. I'll give you mine, and Rob can give you his, and then we'll close you out here. I'm leaning into my hope. I'm getting hopeful again. This is a really tough one to predict, but I think the Packers win this game 31-27. They get right. We win this one. And I don't know what happens after that, but I'm predicting a victory for the Packers. Could certainly go the other way. What do you think?
Yeah, totally biased here, but I'm going to hope and believe a lot of stuff I was just talking about. 31-24 for the Packers, but obviously don't feel too good about it. The Eagles are a very, very talented team, so would not be shocked at all if this was completely 180. But 31-24 to Packers for me.
is a Packers podcast. I would feel guilty if this is the Packers' last game of the season, I'd feel guilty if I didn't try to predict that and have the hope that they would win at the end. That would be a terrible way for us to end this, for us to both predict losses. So we'll be optimistic on this pod, but hopefully next week when we talk to you, we are talking about a matchup against the Detroit Lions, and not talking about disappointment and what a long off season looks like and what it would take to get ready for 2025 regular seasons. But yeah, so why don't you close us out, Rob?
Thank you to everybody coming back and taking a listen to us. Just know that we do have new Packers content every Wednesday and every Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Let's hope that this season and into the playoffs continues for the Packers, and that we can go down into Philadelphia and take care of business. We are on social media on X. Jordan is at Olson Jordan, and I am at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's. So you can connect with us there. And if you know a Packer friend or two that would that likes to nerd out with the Packers just as much as we do, make sure to send them our way. So let's hope we go down and take care of business, though, Packers fans. Let's go. Let's go. We hope that you have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good night. Take care. Go Pack, go.
Go Pack.
Been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better.